Kodak Black and Boosie Badass are back in the headlines after a viral clip of Kodak looking out of it at a Texas show sparked yet another public clash. In the clip, Kodak struggles on stage and reportedly shows up 9 hours late, prompting Boosie to comment, "Dude, need help for." That simple line reignited a beef that's been simmering for years, going far beyond just social media jabs. This isn't your typical rap feud. At its core, it's about respect, street code, and personal boundaries. Kodak fired back, accusing Boosie of snitching not to the cops, but by airing his personal business for the world to see. For Kodak, Boosie's commentary crossed a line, exposing his struggles with substance abuse and public behavior in a way that felt like betrayal. But the roots of this beef go back to 2023, when Kodak collaborated with Tekashi 6ix9ine, a move Boosie saw as a violation of the street's unspoken rules. Since then, diss tracks, Instagram posts, and public callouts have made their conflict one of the most layered in hip-hop today. Add in allegations of drug abuse, career sabotage, and unresolved mentorship tension, and you've got a saga that's part rap drama, part real-life cautionary tale. Kodak wants his privacy, Boosie claims concern. Both are speaking their truth, but in the process, the internet is watching every explosive moment. And now, February 2020 SIXS Texas footage brings everything full circle, showing just how far these two giants will go and how messy this beef has truly become. After Boosie's comment on Kodak's Texas performance, the tension between them escalated quickly. Kodak wasn't going to let a 5-word remark slide. This was years of unresolved issues boiling over in public. In a video response, Kodak addressed Boosie directly, calling him out for constantly putting his personal life on display. "You snitching," Kodak said, staring into the camera. Not in the federal sense, but in the street sense, airing someone's struggles, habits, and private matters to the world is betrayal, and Kodak made it clear Boosie had crossed that line. This wasn't an isolated incident. Their beef traces back to 2023, long before diss tracks and viral clips. Initially, there was a mentorship vibe. Boosie had spoken highly of Kodak's raw talent, even advising him to leave Florida to avoid the drama surrounding him. Kodak had acknowledged this guidance publicly, once saying he looked up to Boosie. But that respect would soon fracture. The first major spark came in July 2023, when Kodak linked up with Tekashi 6ix9ine on the track Shaka Laka. Within hip-hop circles, Tekashi was radioactive, the ultimate modern-day rat who'd turned on his own crew in federal court. For Boosie, this wasn't just a bad look, it was a violation of the street code. He went scorched earth on Kodak, calling him out publicly, questioning his credibility and street experience. Kodak's response was immediate, posting a video dismissing Boosie as a clown and implying that the older rapper was out of touch and bitter about losing relevance. From that moment, a pattern emerged. Boosie positioned himself as the accountability voice, pointing out Kodak's reckless moves and drug use. Kodak, on the other hand, framed Boosie as an old head policing the younger generation while inserting himself into his business. Every public interaction, whether through diss tracks or social media posts, became a tug-of-war between concern, ego, and street respect. By August 2023, Boosie escalated with the diss track Ungrateful, directly attacking Kodak over the 6ix9ine collaboration. He accused Kodak of self-sabotage and of disrespecting the culture they both grew up in. The track was raw, personal, and marked the first time bars became a central weapon in their feud. Later that year, the conflict deepened financially when Boosie accused Kodak of sampling his music without clearance, making the battle about pride, principle, and money. 2024 offered no respite. Kodak responded with 11 a.m. in Malibu, targeting Boosie directly, reigniting public arguments over career decisions, respect, and credibility. Boosie maintained his stance, emphasizing that Kodak's mistakes, from collaborations with notorious figures to public substance abuse, were symptomatic of a larger pattern. He wasn't just talking for clout. He was warning someone he once respected from repeating the same destructive cycles he had experienced himself. In private, there may have been nuance, but in public, their war became unrelenting. Kodak continued to fire back, dismissing Boosie's advice and criticism, framing him as jealous or bitter. Boosie, meanwhile, used every platform available to speak on Kodak's actions, whether it was podcast interviews, social media, or music releases. He pointed out the physical and behavioral signs that indicated deeper struggles with substance abuse, signs he recognized from his own past with PCP and angel dust. He was trying to save Kodak from himself, or at least make the world aware of what he saw unfolding. The stakes grew even higher in September 2025 with the Young Thug situation. Rumors swirled about Thug cooperating in a federal case, creating tension across the hip-hop community. Kodak, noticing Boosie's silence on the matter, publicly questioned why the rapper who had built his brand on keeping it real wasn't addressing the issue. For Kodak, this was both a challenge and a calculated provocation. He was calling into question Boosie's consistency and credibility. Boosie responded strategically, making it clear that he would speak when the timing was right on his terms, and not because Kodak or the internet demanded it. He emphasized that commentary on heavy topics like federal investigations requires the right platform and careful consideration, not impulsive Instagram posts or hot takes. This demonstrated the calculated side of Boosie's public persona, part mentor, part enforcer of street principles, part businessman who knows when and where to wield influence. Meanwhile, Kodak leaned into the idea of snitching, redefining it to include any form of public disclosure of personal struggles. In his framework, Boosie airing Kodak's substance issues and personal life was a form of betrayal, violating the unspoken code between them. Each interaction, each video post, each bar on a track became an iteration of this argument: privacy, respect, and control over one's narrative. The feud's escalation reached another peak in January 2026, with Kodak releasing Christmas Eve. The track was direct, unapologetic, and aimed squarely at Boosie. Lines like, "I used to look up to Boosie. He hate I got more bread than that old head" combined respect, accusation, and declaration of independence. Timing also amplified the insult. Releasing the track just 2 days before Boosie's federal gun sentencing was seen as a calculated move, a strategic attempt to destabilize him mentally at the most critical time. Boosie fired back immediately, labeling Kodak a clout-chasing crackhead, highlighting both his substance abuse and the perception that his attacks were motivated by a desperate need for attention. This digital confrontation, happening while Boosie faced serious legal issues, added another layer of tension. Despite personal and legal the Texas footage was only the latest escalation, but it wasn't the beginning of the end. It was a flashpoint that reignited everything that had been simmering for years. Kodak's disoriented performance and Boosie's 5-word comment, "Dude need help for," spread across social media like wildfire. Fans debated endlessly. Was Boosie crossing a line, or was he trying to save Kodak from himself? In Kodak's eyes, it was another unnecessary public exposure, another violation of his privacy. The backlash was immediate, and the tension that had been quietly building over the years exploded across timelines and podcasts. Kodak didn't stay silent for long. He hopped on Instagram Live, firing back with a controlled rage. "I don't be in nobody else's, mix the way Boosie stay in mine," he said, directly confronting the older rapper. His eyes were sharp, his tone unflinching. For Kodak, this was personal. It wasn't just about music or public image. It was about respect and boundaries. He brought up past experiences, tying Boosie's commentary to moments where people had violated trust in his family and friends. "My brother got told on when I was young," Kodak said, drawing a direct line between street betrayal and the public airing of personal matters. This was more than rap beef. It was Kodak framing the conflict as a fundamental violation of trust. Boosie, for his part, was already responding on multiple fronts. He addressed fans and critics alike, acknowledging the pressure he was under from his followers, the media, and the internet at large. Federal gun charges were looming over his head, sentencing just days away, yet he still took the time to weigh in. "I can't be going back and forth on the internet with everybody," he said, making it clear that his energy was limited and that he was prioritizing what mattered most: the law, his freedom, and his legacy. But even in that exhausted state, He found space to address Kodak, framing it as accountability rather than personal attack. The dynamic between them had always been layered. Kodak's challenge to Boosie over the Young Thug situation had forced Boosie to clarify his position. He wouldn't speak on any case unless it was on his terms and the right platform. Timing and context mattered to him. Boosie wasn't about to be pressured by Kodak or the internet into making statements about sensitive matters. He maintained a tightrope balance, calling out behavior he deemed harmful, but doing so strategically. To him, Kodak's public antics were alarming, but not entertainment. There was a real human at stake, and Boosie's approach combined concern with public accountability. Kodak, however, reframed Boosie's commentary as snitching. It was a term he repurposed, extending its meaning from traditional law enforcement betrayal to the exposure of personal struggles on social media. Each post, each interview, each comment about Kodak's drug use or erratic behavior became a marker of Boosie snitching in Kodak's eyes. That word, heavy with cultural significance, fueled much of the animosity between them. For Kodak, public scrutiny over private matters crossed the unspoken code that should exist even among rappers with vast social media followings. The conflict's intensity didn't wane in the months that followed. In April 2026, rumors of another Kodak incident surfaced. Fans reported sightings of him late to shows, struggling with performance, and engaging in erratic behavior. Social media commentary reignited, and Boosie once again weighed in with measured concern. "Man, he need help," Boosie said in a podcast interview. But this time, the comment carried the weight of years of observation, of understanding the patterns of substance abuse, fame, and pressure in young artists. He wasn't just speaking on one incident, he was mapping a trajectory that he had seen Kodak follow for years. Kodak's response was immediate and pointed. On social media, he accused Boosie of jealousy and of writing off his name for clout. The posts were sharp, layered, and unapologetic. He referenced past mentorship, acknowledging respect he once had, but emphasizing that the reverence was over. Boosie, for Kodak, had lost credibility to comment on his choices publicly. The argument wasn't just verbal, it played out in music releases, with subtle bars and direct jabs woven into tracks, reinforcing that every action and reaction was part of a larger war. By mid-2026, their feud had evolved into a multi-layered narrative. It wasn't only about public clashes or viral moments, it included financial disputes, questions of credibility, cultural respect, and street code. Fans dissected every interview, every video, every bar. Discussions weren't just about who was right or wrong, but about the ethics of public commentary in hip-hop culture. Was Boosie's concern genuine or performative? Was Kodak's frustration rooted in ego or a legitimate violation of privacy? The internet, as ever, had endless opinions, and each side had supporters ready to defend them. Throughout it all, the drug dimension remained critical. Kodak's substance use wasn't just fodder for jokes or insults, it was central to Boosie's commentary. From past interviews to live observations, Boosie recognized the warning signs that Kodak was repeating behaviors he himself had endured at his lowest points. His critiques, while public, came with a dual layer of mentorship and concern. He had been in those dark places, seen those patterns, and understood the stakes. He wasn't merely criticizing, he was warning. Meanwhile, Kodak's behavior increasingly confirmed the patterns Boosie had long identified. Missed shows, late arrivals, erratic performances, and bizarre statements all reinforced the narrative of instability. Social media turned into a stage for the ongoing drama. Snippets, clips, memes, and commentary fanned the flames, ensuring that the feud remained in public consciousness. Kodak's responses alternated between dismissive, confrontational, and revealing, keeping fans guessing about his mental and emotional state. The narrative was further complicated by the timing of music releases and personal legal matters. Boosie's federal gun sentencing, Kodak's ongoing controversies, and other high-profile hip-hop events intertwined with the feud, amplifying its stakes. Each statement, post, or song release became a calculated move in a chess game neither artist could ignore. Timing, strategy, and perception were all critical components, A misstep could influence public opinion, career trajectories, and credibility within the culture. By late 2026, what started as a disagreement over public commentary had transformed into a layered saga encompassing mentorship, betrayal, personal struggle, substance abuse, cultural principles, and business considerations. Every interaction was analyzed, every move dissected, and every comment added to the complex narrative. Both artists were locked in a war of words and public perception, each unwilling to concede ground. And yet, amid all the smoke and tension, there remained a strange undercurrent of respect, if not for each other, then for the culture itself. Both knew the stakes of visibility, reputation, and street credibility. Both understood that their actions weren't just personal, they were signals to the community about loyalty, accountability, and the consequences of crossing lines. The feud had become a public lesson, a cautionary tale about fame, power, and the intricate dynamics of respect in hip-hop. Even as fans waited for the next chapter, both Kodak and Boosie remained locked into the narrative, each reinforcing their positions with calculated statements, music releases, and selective commentary. The story wasn't over, it was evolving, expanding, and pulling in the culture at large. As 2026 progressed, the Kodak Black and Boosie feud became less about individual incidents and more about the long-term patterns that defined their relationship. The Texas footage, missed shows, viral social media posts, and public comments were all pieces of a much larger puzzle, one that combined respect, accountability, substance abuse, and the codes of the streets with the pressures of fame. What started as concern from Boosie about Kodak's state of mind had become an all-out narrative war watched by millions. Boosie remained consistent throughout. He balanced humor, critique, and genuine worry in every statement. Fans saw clips of him roasting Kodak publicly, but underneath was a man who recognized the trajectory of someone repeating past mistakes. Each joke or commentary was layered with insight drawn from his own experiences with drugs, fame, and street life. Boosie's central message was clear: Kodak's behavior wasn't just entertainment, it was alarming, and someone needed to speak on it. Kodak, for his part, stayed defensive yet reflective at times. He fired back in interviews, Instagram lives, and music releases, challenging Boosie's authority to comment on his personal life. Every accusation, whether about drug use, missed shows, or public shaming, was countered with claims of jealousy, misinterpretation, or disrespect. He positioned himself as someone who understood the pressures of fame differently, someone who refused to be boxed in by the opinions of an elder, even one he once respected. The feud's turning point came when their conflict intersected with broader hip-hop culture. Fans, social media, and industry insiders dissected every move, debating the ethics of public accountability versus personal privacy. Kodak accused Boosie of snitching by airing private matters. Boosie defended his commentary as pattern recognition, a way to prevent self-destruction. This underlying tension over code, respect, and culture made the feud resonate far beyond just the two men involved. By the end of 2026, both artists had established themselves in the narrative as unyielding figures. Kodak continued to make headlines with erratic performances, controversial statements, and viral moments, reinforcing the behaviors Boosie had warned about. Boosie maintained his stance, critical yet concerned, combative yet strategic. Every diss, post, or comment was layered with subtext, reflecting years of shared history, mentorship, and conflict. While there was no official resolution, the feud had evolved into a cautionary tale. It was a story of fame, ego, respect, accountability, and the delicate balance between public exposure and personal boundaries. Boosie's warnings, Kodak's defenses, and the public's reactions created a multi-dimensional drama that illustrated the pressures young stars face when they collide with seasoned veterans in hip-hop. Ultimately, the saga highlighted one truth above all: in the world of music and street culture, actions have consequences, respect matters, and words, spoken publicly or in private, can shape legacies. Kodak Black and Boosie Badass left a mark on 2026, not just with their music, but with a feud